Welcome to the Unchurching Podcast.
There's just so much more.
Thanks for joining us once again. And today's a really exciting day for us. We have one of our closest friends with us. But I'll leave that for Rachelle to introduce because I know audio you can't see, but she's giving me the face going, I was going to do the introduction. What I'm here to do is just to do what she told me, which is to remind you to head back and listen to the David Trotter interview. It is absolutely excellent. It's amazing to hear two church leaders or former church leaders sit down and speak about their awakening journey. And I just, I've listened to it again and again, and there's so much gold that's come out in there. And so, I just want to encourage you to do that and head back to that. And I tell you what, just go back to episode 1 and just listen to everything. Just while you're at it, just go listen to everything. It's all good.
Oh, that's funny. Speaking of gold, yes, today's guest, I'm being really excited to have him here. Justin is an incredible friend, and not only a friend, but to me, I feel like a big brother I have never had, but always thought I should. And so bringing him in, we're going to speak about such cool stuff, about journeys, about really important things in this journey. And I'm so happy to have you here, Justin. Hi.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Hello.
So I guess to get started, a really cool thing to do, just to be tell our listeners who you are, what you do right now, and just give us some insight into that.
Cool. My name is Justin, and what I do as a profession for the most part is mentoring on wonderful things, conscious conversations, but I also shaman. I do shaman work with certain plant medicines like mushrooms and DMT. I also lead breathwork and meditations. I play a lot with frequency and sound and movement as well. And essentially my work is all about helping others remember who they are, awaken to their true self. And those are the modalities I use for that process.
That's cool. Yeah, it's amazing because that's going to be kind of what we're going to dive into today is this process of remembering. We have mentioned it so much in past episodes, but just very briefly. And for us, we're still learning about what that process is and what it kind of looks like. And so that is really what today is about, and how to help people work through that process. And I know you have great tools, and I know you have great insight into things. And I think it's going to be helpful for us as well today. So that is what we're going to dive into. We love asking guests where it all started, because your story is so important in what you actually do. Yeah. And I don't actually know if I know the whole full story. Yeah. But so how did you remember? Where did you come into this process of getting you to where you are now?
Yeah, it definitely took some time. I think what has really helped me in my life experiences though is I really was able to stay in this childlike presence into my adulthood. And so that's something to really point out. I would say a good place to start is right around 33 when I did my first DMT experience.
Okay.
We're
diving in deep.
Yeah, I think that could be a good place to start. So my experience was quite wonderful. I became nothing, nobody in this space. And there was a wonderful female entity that greeted me and started filling me up with lots of love. And I acknowledged that. And then a question came through and asked, am I familiar with this love? And I said, yes, I know this love. And it felt like I was having a smile on my astral body or astral face at this time. And then this entity filled me up with more love, more light, to where I kind of burst into nothingness again. And then asked me the same question, do you know this love? And I remember beaming with joy and happiness that I knew this love, that I really do truly know this love in that moment. And then the entity said, that's absolutely wonderful. So happy for you that you feel and know this love. But we want to let you know that a lot of people down there do not know this love. They have no idea of this love. And what's wild to me is I was completely ignorant to that. I didn't have the awareness that so many people were struggling within themselves, within their minds, with their emotions. I had a unique childhood, a lot of abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse. And I know why I didn't take on the trauma from my family. But that was, but I learned there was something that happened in those moments that kind of gave me the answer, so to speak, to share with others on how to heal, on how to remember. And so once that the Spirit essentially showed me how the world was suffering, I became curious as to why and where does it all come from? And if anything, how can I help them heal or at least become more self-aware of who they are? And so I learned in the process, when it comes to healing, it's essentially reconnecting to who you are. It's like a simultaneous thing that happens. The remembering is what actually allows the healing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so that's where kind of my work started taking a turn. I really didn't become still very much self-aware to where I'm at now until even later, like age 37, when I would say I really came online. I really fully remembered and could see how most things worked in this universe. And it really simplified things for me. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and to put things in perspective, when you had that DMT at 33, that was approximately 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
now.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, way to bust his age out there, Rachelle.
Well,
Fantastic.
I don't think Justin minds.
Fabulous.
Most of the time I forget how old I am.
Well, I'm the same
I don't
age as him, so I'm like calling myself out here too. So, yeah.
I don't think I've aged in like 12 years. It's
Oh, that's
wild.
cool.
Yeah, and it's all, I think, due to meditation and stuff like that, for sure.
Cool. I love that.
I love that journey. I love how connected it feels when you use the word love. And I think like for our audience that a lot have been in church and had that journey, I think that is what they felt initially when they went to church for many people. And for many people actually came out of trauma and then felt that connection when they went into that space. And we always speak about church being narrow. And I think that was the narrow feeling they were feeling of that. But when you speak about love, what is it? What is love? Because you said, they asked you, do you know this love?
Yeah.
What is this love?
I don't think you can really put it into words. It's indescribable. But that's why the ability to go inward will allow you to feel this indescribable love that is you, this deep, deep knowing. Yeah, and so you can't really put it into words. It wouldn't do it justice. It's like trying to describe the sun to somebody. Or the Grand Canyon, if you will. It looks like, you really have to see it and experience it. And you definitely find that space in the present moment, in the stillness. And so, as I mentioned, I because I had a unique ability to see things through a loving lens as a young kid, I was able to have deep compassion and understanding for like my stepdad, who was the one who was physically and verbally abusive. And so because I understood that it was him that was suffering, my mind didn't create a narrative or story like I'm not enough or I'm not worthy of love or I'm too much. I had an understanding it was actually him.
Yeah,
That's an amazing recognition to have at such a young age.
Yeah,
That's
it's
incredible.
insane.
Yeah, and I think that was contributed to was I don't think I ever was like afraid in the moments he was physical or afraid in the moments when he was verbal. So for whatever reason, my body and like myself didn't fall into like any type of intense fear. Like just fear didn't arise. Even the times if he were violent or abusive, there is like just a deep safety within myself. And so I think the fact that I didn't ever felt afraid in front of my stepdad, and then at the same time had an understanding of why he was the way he was. So it gave me like love and compassion in those moments and forgiveness in real time. And so I realized by not taking on the energetic trauma within my body and not creating a narrative about what's going on, I was able to, in real time, not take on any trauma.
That's crazy. That's amazing. And so rare, because I don't feel like a lot of people, I don't think anyone I've ever spoken to has had that experience, but it almost feels like you came to Earth prepared for that moment, already like very assured of who you are, not having to have that experience. You might have had that experience and overcome it before in a different time. And it's like you came already prepped for what you were meant to do in this lifetime.
Yeah, I could definitely see it that way as well. It's interesting. Like I definitely still had patterns and programming that were inappropriate or missing the mark, you know what I mean? But I didn't have like the vibration of fear driving these things.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't have a story of unworthiness driving these things. It was more so if I was doing something that was inappropriate or like not right, it was because I just didn't have awareness, or I had shitty programming, shitty teachers, if you will.
Yep.
That is just so special. It's so amazing. I think back to my trauma childhood, those situations, my stepfather being physically, emotionally abusive, and the way you put that, it absolutely drove my behavior, absolutely drove the decisions I made, and drove my lostness. You know, it drove my separation. And I guess like it is such a fundamental, I don't want to say tool because it's a bad thing, but fear is such a thing that drives our forgetfulness. And so when we speak about forgetfulness, and Rachelle said, you know, we have mentioned the word remembering in so many episodes, but to explore that, what have we forgotten?
How to love and understand. Yeah, how to love and understand, how to really see. And also our connection to the all, or to truth as well. Probably the biggest thing is the fact that we're just disconnected due to the fear from love, which is who we are.
Yeah.
So so it's
I mean, it's so simple.
It's very simple. It's because, you know, and fear is there for all these different types of reasons. So we can, you know, really dive into that type of thing. Like, okay, why is this fear present, whether it's stuck energy trauma in the body or programmed fear in the mind? The important thing is to understand that fear, you know, it's not going to really help us except create a signpost towards love. That's the best thing fear does for us, especially the ego part of the fear. It is like a signpost towards course correcting. And then you do really get to a point through this awareness that you're not your mind, this awareness that you're not your emotions, the awareness on knowing how to feel them when they arise and transmute or alchemize them in real time. And then also not grabbing the narratives or stories your brain creates about those emotions moving through your body. So you really kind of start sitting in that seat of loving awareness, and you become way less reactive. The ability to pause and see things through that lens does become your autopilot. For me, it was always my autopilot. It never shifted. And so when I became aware at 33, you know, like everybody else, it does not have this ability or this experience. I really became curious as to why. And yeah, you know, when you're a child and you're in intense experiences and you're, you know, in the face of physical and verbal abuse constantly, your young mind is going to create all types of narratives or stories to make sense of the situation. And there's a part of you that clearly thinks that your parents or the people that, you know, are supposed to love you are just supposed to love you unconditionally and take care of you. But we're in this unique cycle of everybody's in their fear, everybody's in their trauma, and they're also making children in this space. They're not healed, they're not enlightened, they're not awakened in any regard. And so our parents are operating from this ego fear, and we don't have the awareness that they're lost in the trance of their mind. They have forgotten completely who they are, or never had a chance to even remember in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. More accurate, you know? And so our mind comes up with only one conclusion. There must be something wrong with me. I must not be worthy of love.
Yeah.
And so that's where we first start forgetting. is there in the household. And then we forget more through like the education system. We forget more through our environment. We forget more through dogmatic religion.
Yep.
And the story that's really driving this is essentially like unconditional, or not even unconditional love. And all these places that I just mentioned, our household, our education system, our environment, and dogmatic religions are all conditional loves.
Yes.
And they consistently drive this message that you aren't enough or worthy of love. You know?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I'm just trying to really grab this, because what we haven't mentioned yet is that I went through mentorship with you, and we did 3 months of mentorship together. And I remember when I first came for my first session, I just was like, I was in tears in probably the first 3 minutes, because that's how I felt in life. That's how I felt. I was so broken down and was so new to this awakening process. But the core thing was I felt so lost. And I remember saying, I just feel like I've completely lost my identity. I've completely lost myself. I don't know who I am. And so that process was there. And then you led me through this process of starting to remember. But what is that process of awakening? Why does it feel so broken? Why is there so much stripped from us?
Well, you know, again, we're really born into an unconscious environment. Most of us, almost everybody is born into unconscious environment and unconscious family. And so what that actually means is that we at a young age are not informed that we aren't our human thinking mind. So that's the big problem. Like when you're born into this world, the first thing we should be taught by our conscious parents is that we aren't our mind, that we aren't our thoughts, that we aren't our emotions.
Right.
If only.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and how to manage, say, intrusive thoughts, and how to manage our emotions in real time. So this is one thing nobody probably does in the whole world.
Yeah.
Is it very conscious parents? You know, like, hey, by the way, you have this beautiful mind, but it isn't you. It is a tool. And also, this is who you are, by the way. And the way that you can explore that deeper is through stillness meditation, grounding, connecting with source, all those wonderful things. And so there's going to be a big shift, because I think more people are going to be doing this in these following generations, which is wonderful. But that's the real thing of all of it, is that most of us are as divine souls asleep at the wheel of this human experience, and we completely identify with our thoughts, feelings, and emotions as the false self. And that false self, unfortunately, has been programmed to feel unworthy, not enough, consistently worry of the unknown future, anxiety, constantly comparing itself. And so this mind, this computer, which is our mind, this quantum computer, which is our mind, is creating a really powerful low vibrational reality. And we're identifying as that self. And that's wild. And so we have to awaken and remember who we are, and we're the spirit in form, you know,
Wow.
light in form. Yeah. And so that's what we're doing here. That's what we're remembering. And the way that we remember is through stillness and other fun techniques, even just dancing. You can remember through dancing. You can remember, but mostly it's just about connecting and more so just having conversations like this, you know, like, oh, wait, I never even had this concept. I never even had this thought. Wait, I'm not my mind. I'm not my thoughts. I mean, most people that I do talk to, they have never had that thought, right? I never had that thought. I'm not my thoughts. Okay, then who am I? I'm not my body. Who am I? I'm not my experiences or title. Right? Okay, well then who are you if you're none of those things?
Yeah, that's amazing. And I don't think I questioned those things up until very recently, which is crazy, because it's true. It's things you might know as well in knowledge, or something cool you read in a book, but when it hits it hits. And that's really so many people that I've spoken to about like their journeys into this process. That was kind of the trigger for a lot of people into awakening, into remembering who they are, is that moment when you're like, wait, whoa, I'm not. My thoughts, and that observer effect that can happen when you step back from your thoughts. And it really is the starting point, I feel like, of like getting into this journey, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think the important thing is just more so having conversations about, all right, well, how can I start this process? How can I start the remembering process or my awakening process? And, first it's just understanding that awakening isn't linear. It's not like this thing that just happened once and you're all awakened and great. Awakening is, the rhythm of the universe. It has its highs and its lows for quite some time, and kind of riding those waves, so to speak, is a big part of the process. And once we kind of have the ability to peek under the veil of truth, there's a lot of reprogramming that needs to happen within the mind. There's a lot of behaviors that need to be shifted. The way that you eat, the music you listen to, the companies that you support, you really start understanding how everything is deeply connected and how the universe truly works. You start living in that alignment through awareness as well. And yeah, that's the sweet spot. That's where the magic happens too, is that space as well.
Yeah, I think what's amazing is that when you say that, when you haven't started this process or started your journey of awakening, it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of sacrifice, and it sounds like a lot of change. And the reality is, though, as you go along, you want to do these things. You no longer feel drawn to these things that you used to feel drawn to in your old identity. And so it becomes very natural. We find ourselves watching like hardly any television now. We'd rather be going to bed earlier, doing breath work, doing meditation, because of how you feel when you do it. It's the same thing I've said in the episode before that changed my mindset about meditation. Was it's not about how you feel when you do it. It's about how you feel when you don't do it.
Yeah.
And it just starts driving you. And so it's a beautiful shift from being under a religious conditioning that says you have to do these things in order to actually being in a place where it's like, I'm really enjoying doing these things. This feels real to me. This feels more alive to me.
Yeah.
So when you go through this initial stage of awakening, it can be very disruptive, and it can really, I've seen a lot of people get kind of stuck. Well, not a lot, because I haven't been exposed to it that long, but some people seem to get stuck or concerned about what they're having to start sacrificing or such, or what the journey is. But when they press through that, what is this journey actually like? Because I want people to understand how fun this is, how incredibly awesome this is, that it is something to look forward to and such. And to that point, how do I know that it's real? How do I know I'm not just imagining it?
Yeah. Well, you are in some ways, which creates your reality. So
Sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. We're all imagining our reality in some way, and in many ways. So, but what's nice is that essentially you are simply more present. So the reason why individuals suffer so much is because the identification with their mind and the fact that their mind is consistently running. And so a big part of the work is healing the body from stuck energy, and then also reprogramming your quantum computer, which creates your reality. And so what you start feeding your computer, your mind, is really important. And so for some, that can be incredibly challenging depending on their ego that their mind created, by the way. So your mind created this thing called the ego when it was younger to essentially protect itself. But it actually doesn't protect itself. It actually keeps it separate and small. So so you have this ego, this mind, and this ego within the mind that lives in this low vibrational space, and it'll kind of perk up and try to get you to do things that aren't in your favor, that aren't really quite good for you. It'll try to stop you from doing your meditations. It'll try to have you eat unhealthy or consistently seek pleasures or cravings and what have you. And so you have to be aware of this mind, this ego mind, and when it speaks, and to no longer identify as that self. And that's an important process to this place of peace. And so what's great is as you start reprogramming your brain and discharging the trauma energy, what we're stepping into is a level of presence, right? A deep, deep level of presence, which will bring immense peace, which will bring immense joy, bliss, love, awareness. It's who you are in the deepest level, presence. That's where awareness hangs out. And so when your mind's nice and still, that's a beautiful space. And for people that have maybe dabbled with breath work here and there, you probably experienced this level of stillness following the breath work for a period of time. Or if you've experienced plant medicine, you've had moments of this level of peace and understanding. Sometimes people get it from a running high as well, or when they go on a rigorous hike, or say when they deliver a baby or something like that. Some people have glimpses of it. And they do get this ridiculous high, but they don't realize what it is. And it's the fact that they existed in presence. And so a really big part of this is just, okay, well, how can I get myself to simply, not even myself, my person to be more present, right? Because awareness is awareness, which is who you are. And it's more so getting your person, this beautiful sentient being, clean and cleared of any distortions or trauma out of its body, its energetic trauma, and then also that it has a healthy mind.
It's incredible. That's amazing. And I feel like, we're going to really dive into like some of those applications and processes and what they are. And I think for me, one of the things that has changed everything, and I knew nothing about it before I met you and did it with you, is breathwork. And so I know it's become very trendy as well on the other end, breathwork. And I know it started in different places, but I feel like coming into knowing how you lead it and how you've done it, it's really, really helped me, because exactly what I feel like it's kind of burnt away more of like the ego mind and really brought my my divine presence of who I am through. So can you kind of explain to people who haven't ever done breath work, like I hadn't up until like a couple of months ago, like what it is, why we do it, and kind of the benefits and practice of like when and how you should do it?
Yeah, breath is something you should do every day. Getting present with your breath. The definition of breath, I forget in what language. It might be, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say, but spirit.
Yeah.
And breath is probably the best tool to clean your body or clean your instrument that is your body each and every day. So we can hold energetic blockages in our body because we don't know how to move emotions or energy in motion in real time through us appropriately or properly. And so we get a lot of stickiness, energy in our bodies as we go through this life experience. And so learning how to clean your body is a huge, huge importance that everybody should be doing. Not just if you have trauma, but just everyday stuff. You go through this world and a lot of parts of this world are in a very low vibration, the food, the air, the water in a lot of ways. There's a lot of unfortunate low vibrational things that we're kind of connecting with through the day, our phones and stuff like that, all the EMFs, the blue lights, what have you. And that really can affect our bodies. And so cleaning your body every day through breath and through other things like sauna, movement, some forms of yoga. But I've noticed out of all the modalities, breath is something that if I remove that single one and I keep all the other ones, stuff will end up sticking to me and I'll fall into more of the vibration of maybe agitation or frustration. Stuff like that. And then my mind can create stories from that vibration entering into my body, and then I have to then manage my mind. And so I rather be a wonderful high vibration through my behaviors, like breath work, through my behaviors like eating regenerative food, through my behaviors of sunbathing and sauna work every day. So I clean this instrument with my breath. That's the best part. And also the breath is a wonderful way to fall into meditation. So stillness is a tough time for a lot of people, especially in the beginning parts of this work, because the mind is so intense. It's so mean. It's nonstop. It's like the worst thing ever. And so I get it. It's very, very tough to kind of sit with your mind in the beginning phases, because the mind is so incredibly mean. And so the breath is really cool to do first, because it will move a lot of the energy that's kind of like right there on the brim of like exploding out of you all the time. So that will be moved around in a gentle way, which is nice. And you'll feel that coming out of your hands, your feet. You might even have like a little bit of weeping or crying as well, and allow that to happen. So this is all energy moving out of your body as you breathe. And what's beautiful about this, it allows your mind to then settle because that energy is finally being moved out. And then there's nothing to interpret from the mind. There's no energy there, so to speak, nothing to make sense of. So, and then also you're having your mind focus on something for a period of time. So you're giving it a task that requires your presence. So you're kind of tricking the brain to watch the breath or be in this active meditation to then gently fall into the stillness of nothingness. And then that's where that's where we actually sit as awareness. So there you are. That's you right there. Right. Once the mind is quieted down. Yeah. Once the mind's quieted down and your body's released some energy and it's just like in this nothingness space, that's who you are.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And then in that space, you get wonderful downloads from this beautiful field of love, guides, your soul self comes through. And then shows you how to see things through a different lens. It shows you how to see your life experiences through the lens that I never lost as a child. I was able to see my dad with love and compassion. And so we kind of lose that because, we get trampled on a lot. Our hearts close. We become conditional. We become afraid. But if we can reopen and we can have deeper understanding of why things are the way they are, and we don't take it personally because we have this awareness, we have this ability to see things for what they are, we then can hold it. It's no longer personal. And yeah, it doesn't feel as heavy either when you can really see it all. The ego makes it quite personal, and it makes it quite heavy then.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm struck by a few things that I think is just so fascinating. You really are very practical about it, the way you explain it. And I think there's a lot going on, as in most movements or any movement really, where you get the authentic side of it and then you get the cultural side of it. And I just want to, you probably have more grace for this than I do, but there do seem to be a lot of people that are just like selling breathwork, or it's like, oh, I'll go do it as an event, but it doesn't become a daily practice. And I just feel like there's got to be a difference, right, between people who buy into the culture of these things and these practices and they're kind of trendy versus actually integrating them into your life. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a phase. It's a phase that just everybody goes through in their awakening process, becoming aware of practices, becoming aware of all of this is just that. It's just you're becoming aware. And then the next is embodiment. And that takes a long time to do. And that's kind of like what everybody's trying to do right now through healing and sitting and managing their ego. So you can't fully embody it yet because you're going through this process, you're the dark night of the soul, where you realize like, oh my goodness, this whole self that I've been identifying with for the last my whole life, that's not who I am. It's what I've been experiencing. And then wait a second, then who is this? And so, everybody's figuring it out in real time while also realizing they don't care for their work, and they also don't care for this and that, and
there's a lot of difficult things that go along with it.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. And there's a part that still really is fully of service. That higher self is starting to shine through and is ready to step into this role of helping others remember, because that's what happens. So it makes sense why people jump into it, but that's just also a common thing that the mind just does. It really wants to be enough or be worthy of love. So it'll now go through the spiritual approach. It did it through all the other ones. It did it through like, okay, I'll become this for, in school, or I'll become the trainer, or I'll become the coach, or I'll become the doctor. It's all the same thing, and to be enough, to be worthy. And this is just one of those things that also happen, and it goes through the spiritual path as well as a breathwork facilitator or what have you. But it's pretty great, to be honest, because that will lead into them authentically being able to operate from their highest self without the distortions of ego being in their work. And that's also very normal. It's very, very normal that it's in their work, and they'll go through their trials and tribulations as to why that's still there. A lot of individuals that say step into, all of a sudden, they got a breathwork, certification and their breathwork coach the next day. Right. So we see a lot of that. And I think what it is again, it's just lack of awareness on like what we're doing with breath work in a lot of ways. And what we're mostly doing is understanding energy and psychology. And so we want to make sure that you understand how to move energy and you have a deep understanding of just energy in general, like the laws or principles that govern the universe and stuff like that. And knowing how to move energy with the breath or with your mind or with intentions or a proper curated space and stuff like that. So there's a lot of energy work that I don't think people really deeply understand when they get into this stuff. And then there's also the psychology of it. Like you're managing someone's mind who's about to discharge a lot of traumatic energy, and they're going to have a unique reaction. And do you have the ability to stay completely open and not have your mind distort the experience with your own fears and judgments?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's usually where the problem is. And people realize that very quickly when they lead someone through breath work, and that releases a stuck energy in their body, a trauma, and it comes out in, a really intense way where a person's literally screaming for their life in a room. And that can really shake someone who just got their certification last weekend and they're now leading
looking for the fine print on the back of this tip.
Yeah. and like you said, they haven't yet done that work on themselves. They have yet to clean their own vessels. So that what it doesn't allow us, and I can kind of maybe share what doesn't allow us to hold space, by the way, for all you new people holding space, is your vessel not being clean. And so if your vessel's not clean and you haven't healed your body and mind for the most part, completely in some ways, not completely, but for the most part completely, and you're not doing your daily practices, you will always have an incredibly, incredibly hard time holding space for really intense sessions, just because your body is not of a vibration to hold the space, and your mind's not of a vibration to hold the space, and it will consistently kind of get in the way and create separation as opposed to connection and love and safety.
Yeah.
And so, if anything, just keep embodying your own practices so that you can really learn, heal your parts of yourself so you know what it's like to actually be able to hold space through that work with yourself, and then within your family members, because you all have stuff to work on with your family members, like learn how to heal that kind of stuff too. And then just also be practical, have life experiences, maybe not try to be a mentor or maybe some type of, psychologist when you're 23 or 24 and realize like, okay, if I'm going to be holding energy, let me take some time and study this. But there's wonderful eagerness in helping, and I love it. And I see it as a chapter. I really do. Yeah. It's a normal chapter. And we can also touch on the other side of it where there's a lot of people that are ready to step into that space and don't have the ability yet because their mind is telling them not to, because their mind's getting away and be like, you're not good enough yet.
Right.
You're not ready yet. And they're ready. And they're fully ready to step into that role. And I want to give you some advice on how to manage that. Your why is important. So if you feel like, man, I really want to step into being a facilitator or a coach or a mentor, ask yourself why. And if it's tied to love, then you'll know you're good. But if it's tied to, I need to make money this month, or it's tied to your worth, like, oh, maybe once I become a spiritual guru, then I'll be accepted into the community, or they will love me for being me, or you could tell where it's operating from if you're truly honest with yourself. And so if it's coming from, I need to make money, or I need to make this sale, or I like this better than my last job, then you can see that you're still in your ego and your mind. You shouldn't be holding space. You got some inner work. But if you are someone who's like, when it comes up, he's like, well, I love doing it, and I really like helping people, and I really want to hold space, and I just feel a calling to it. There you go. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's amazing. I love the grace you put through that journey. And to backtrack just a moment where you were speaking about those that might do breathwork as a novelty, but it's still a seed. It's still part of the journey, part of the beginning. I just couldn't not think of church and journey, and how many nuggets we see through church life that now we can see that they were nuggets, they were smaller elements, but now we're getting to expand into the true form of them and into the openness of them. And yeah, it's amazing how that journey just can unfold when there's grace behind it. So yeah, that's epic. It's very beautiful. And when you speak about holding space, I think just the importance of understanding that isn't just in ceremony, just as a coach, but you even end up holding space in your own life. In a sense, you end up holding space for yourself in some ways, and you then end up holding space for your spouse and for those around you. And that is a beautiful thing that solves a lot of the problems that most people struggle with, that don't know how to solve. And certainly in church, we ignored or hid or didn't have practical tools of how to solve, other than hoping for some external God to come and solve them for us. Meantime, all the tools were in us.
I was gonna bring up the holding space word or phrase, in essence, because I hadn't heard that until I came into like meeting you guys and being part of like our community that we are with now. And so I think for people coming out of church as well, trying to understand, what do you mean by like holding space? Because I think in the church we got to practice it, because you get to pray for someone else, you get to like do these things, but without the intentionality, without the understanding that energy, vibration, all these words that are actually taboo within religion, because you don't speak I know you don't speak about frequency, you don't speak about energy, and when people did speak about it, it was seen as like, oh, those people who believe in like the woohoo stuff, you know. And so it's so important, I think, just to kind of tell people, understanding coming out of church, like what holding space really means in essence, and how practically they've probably been doing it, but not in the right understanding of what it truly means.
Yeah, and if I can tack onto that, I think when you are in those spaces, holding space, use that term in church, praying for someone or whatever, you're always thinking about the result. And you're always thinking about how that result reflects on you.
Yes. And if God has used you in that moment. Yeah.
Essentially, holding space is just being incredibly present with the individual, which is love. Presence is the same frequency as love, so it's all the same presence, love, God. And so if you can quiet your body and quiet your mind and be completely present in your God space, fully open, and that is holding space for when someone's working through something really intensely. And you don't need anything to happen for you to feel okay. You're just there as a loving space for them. And prayer is definitely a part of holding space, because you can send a mantra towards the individual using your words that are vibration. Your thoughts that are also vibration. Everything is vibration. And so you can then be in this present space, and then from that space, from your God space, then you can speak a vibrational loving mantra at the individual, say, we're holding space for. And the same thing, you can do it simultaneously with your mind if you can't speak it out loud. And you can send that person love. And then that vibration will hit them, which is really cool. It'll hit the actual physical body, which will start healing their body or transmuting their low vibration out of their body, and then bringing their body back into alignment. With source. Yeah, with source, with who they are, love and light, right? And so you can do that. Now, during this time, when we are showering somebody with love, if they have a lot of low vibration or trauma, this comes out in all unique ways. It's literally like kind of squeezing it out gently. And so it can sometimes be intense, especially if it's like a really, really like deep trauma that's stuck and lodged in the body. And it could be even generational stuff. And then it comes out of this person. So it can be a literal exorcism. It looks it looks like an exorcism.
Yeah.
It literally looks like one. It's like the body, contorts. There's a deep cry. It comes from the deepest places you could ever imagine. A deep bellows coming out of their centers, their chakra centers, and it's a healing process of energetic coughing, energetic purging. Sometimes real purging comes up, and then deep crying, but deep laughter. Like there's this mix of things, and what's hard for many is why you're in this space is that the mind can kind of enter into the room and judge the things that are happening. And this is where you have to be aware if your mind's able to do that yet. And some are aware of it, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm not ready to hold that type of space yet. My mind of fear still enters in the room and kind of dismantles things. And so that's the biggest thing, is when you can hold space, is being able to sit in your God space, which is presence, and allow the energetic purge to happen without distorting it. And that's why, like, if you're gonna hold space, you have to practice being in the space of presence all the time. And so that's why your breath, your meditations, all that kind of stuff, your grounding, this is all prepared to hold that space when it really needs to be held.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That's really amazing. That actually answers things for me, because if you listen to last week's episode, we spoke about fear and we spoke about some of the demonic and the devil and such, and having been involved in those areas of quote unquote casting out demons. But I said I don't really have an explanation for that now in this new paradigm. You've just given that to me. So thank you for that. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, let's give a little bit of context to this too, of how, like, this type of energy. If someone has, say, been the victim of like powerful abuse, physical abuse, or molestation, or rape, or what have you, and you didn't process that energy, right? You actually didn't take that energy and hold that space for yourself, because nobody does that. Nobody's been shown how to do that. This is how trauma stores, and it's good to kind of talk about this. And so when you're in an intense situation, when you're a child and you're consistently getting abused or what have you, and you never let that energy go, that's what's getting stuck in your body. And so when you do a breath work and you start to feel some of this intensity come up, this could be that energy, and that could be incredibly overwhelming for a lot of people, which is what also stops them from doing the breath work, because they've already had a tough time holding their energy in their body, right? Most people feel very dysregulated from their life experiences and not discharging on a regular basis. Most people have never even done breath work. So their body's filled to the brim from life experiences and everyday things energetically, which is why so many suffer, and which is why your mind is so busy. And so when you have this type of energy in you and you've had a really tough time with physical abuse or molestation or rape, and then you go to actually finally release that, finally let that go, it looks wild. It's exactly what it is. It's an exorcism. That energy's pouring out, that dark energy that was, put on you from your abuser. Yeah, it's in your body. It's tagged on you.
Cork on the champagne bottle.
Yeah, you gotta release it. You gotta release it. And unfortunately, with the medications they've been feeding us over these last decades or so, is they don't actually do anything with this process. What it does is it numbs you, so you don't feel the intensity of this energy. But what happens is you still have it. It's still there, and you're still building on top of it, because you're still not breathing or doing any type of practice. So you have to take more and more and more. And then that doesn't work, because then you become a zombie. And so it's not about numbing. It's not about avoiding. It's about alchemizing the energy, and having the courage and bravery to start leaning into that discomfort that every single person has been avoiding, but also taught to avoid.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And we'll touch base later on like how people can reach out to you to like help start with that process, because I think it can be pretty scary to start with. But moving on from that, because we spoke about meditation briefly, but I think it's a great thing just to touch on briefly the power of meditation and how we use it now, because in the church, again, meditation was taboo. Like we were told you don't meditate because emptying your mind leaves space for darkness to come in and fill it.
Literally a full session in Bible college.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
so that's when the devil gets you. Right? Yeah. And so I was so fearful of meditation and yoga as well, because it was the poses were opening up to you to the demonic, and this is really what I believed for so long. And so now coming into being able to sit in that stillness, and through breathwork, having found that stillness for me, it
connection with you. How wild.
Isn't it crazy?
Connect with yourself.
Yeah, definitely don't, because it's demonic. Yeah.
And
also because the understanding is you're bad, right?
Yeah,
God good, you bad, and one day you'll escape you.
Yeah, don't peek under the veil.
Yes.
Don't look within.
Yes. And so having found that space now, it's so beautiful, and it's one of my most favorite things. But in essence for you, like meditation, why do it? Like how does it get you to this next step of stillness?
So let's define what meditation is, know? And so meditation, which is hilarious, is just simply observing what's happening in the present moment. That's it. You're not even emptying your mind. You're just watching your mind.
Wow.
That's all meditation is observing what's happening in the present moment. Everybody can meditate. Everybody can sit and watch what's happening in the present moment. The hard part is that your mind has a thought, and then you grab the thought and get taken away in this thought movie, and you're no longer present where you're sitting. And so you can
Yes.
just practice this. Yeah, you can just practice this every day to just sit and observe what's happening now. And so you can make it very simple. You can just find an anchor, like even in your room. You can even do it the first few times with your eyes open and just kind of stay in the room. Just be present of what's in the room. Maybe start looking at different things in the room, like just the detail in your dresser or, like what have you. And that is keeping you present in this space. And you're like, okay, so that's what presence is. So then you can close your eyes. You could do the same thing. Now you can just listen, like, to the lawnmower going by your house or birds, or you can even then also watch your thoughts, right? As awareness. You could be present that your mind is having thoughts. You could be aware that your mind is having thoughts in this time and space that you're sitting in your room with your eyes closed. And so that's all you have to do is just, I'm watching this thought. Oh, there's a thought. And you can be like, oh, that's interesting. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to subscribe to it. You can just watch your brain have a thought. This is challenging though, because you identify with your thought.
True.
So that's the challenging part. Just so you know, that's going to be the most challenging part in everybody's human experience is the identification with the mind, identification with the human thinking mind and its fear-based thoughts. That'll be your biggest challenge. Your entire experience is no longer identifying with thoughts. And if you are going to identify with any thoughts, identify with loving thoughts.
Well, yes.
Yes.
So. That's amazing. Because when I started meditating, the only thing that seemed practically doable for me was to do guided meditations. And so I think okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because it seemed to like really help me get into spaces. But then I found like I was constantly having to focus on very specific things, and it was starting to pull me away from.
Yeah, anchors are cool. So you can do. Okay. You can do all that's why the breath, the active meditation will be good for a lot of people. Like the transcendental is a good one because you could do that one every day as opposed to like a somatic or an intense breath work. So you could do a breath work daily, just use a chill one and just use the breath, and the breath is your anchor in this space, and then it allows you to fall into stillness. Now, say you just want to meditate and you don't want to do any breath, which is what I actually been doing the last like 3 or 4 days. I've been actually just sitting for literally an hour and paying attention what's happening in the present moment every morning. And all things come up, thoughts come up, aches and pains in like my back or my knee or my hip comes up. Hearing my dogs walk around and move around comes up. I can hear birds coming up, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just paying attention. And what does still happen for me, and I was just telling Gina this morning, it was funny because usually I do breath and fall into the stillness, and that's quite effortless when I do that. It just happens. Yeah, and I realize it takes about 10 minutes for my mind to start kind of relaxing, 10 to 15 minutes because at first it's like really just popping off and doing all these things, even first thing in the morning. That's why not looking at your phone before you meditate will also help you. If you just drop into a meditation when you wake up, before looking at your phone, by the way, that's huge. And so like it takes about 10, 15 minutes for my mind to really kind of cease. But then what happens next is my body, actually. My body puts up more of a fight and wants to move around. And that's more of like 40 minutes in. It's really funny. It's like I'll feel like something in my lumbar kind of cramp up a little bit, or a burning sensation. And it's like, okay. And then that like kind of pulls me from the present a little bit. But at the same time, it's making me look at my body and pay attention to it. And before I would almost like try to like not look at it or not move, which kind of didn't really add up for me. So then I started focusing on it. So if I'm feeling good sitting there and all of a sudden I feel something in my hip, I'll kind of start moving and putting my focus on it, sending my attention to it, my presence to it, and then it relieves. And then I fall back into the stillness. And if something else started kind of getting on my back or something like that, I would do the same thing. I would move a little bit. Again, just being present what's happening. And then as soon as it dissipated, I become, just aware of what's happening in the room again, or within my body or within my mind. And that has been really fun. It's been really enjoyable.
It's amazing. Yeah, it makes meditation just so natural as a human. Now it's doable.
It's just never about quieting your mind, by the way, or never about, you can make it about teaching your mind to be simply more still, which it will happen by default. And that's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to teach your brain how to be present. You should all try to teach your brain how to be very, very still. But it's not what you're doing in meditation. When you're in meditation, you're not trying not to have thoughts. You're just trying not to grab the thought as awareness or identify with the thought as awareness. That's your main goal. Now, if you do grab the thought, don't create any shame or guilt. Just as soon as you realize you grabbed it and identified with it and got pulled into the story, just pull your back to the anchor, to the present moment, and be like, okay, cool. And then you just continue the process.
It's amazing. So, and I love meditation. How Rachelle loves breathwork, I love meditation. So what I'm hearing you say is you're getting to that point of present awareness, which is creating that stillness, which is where you discover yourself and the separation of yourself from the programming, from the circumstance, from the minutiae of life that are the things keeping you from actually discovering yourself. So then my understanding would be that the guided meditations that you see on YouTube and those sort of things, which most people have tried, that's probably more of a manifestation type space, right? Where you're rewiring your brain towards the future that you're envisioning or that sort of thing.
I understand.
Slightly different?
Yeah. So you can have practices for yourself that will make your mind healthier. And so when we're talking about affirmations or manifestations or mantras, remember everything is vibration. And that includes your thoughts and your words. And so every day I speak a mantra, an affirmation, or some form of manifestation because I understand the laws or principles that govern the universe. So that's another practice that I'm doing on top of my meditation and on top of my breath work. And so it's just another practice that I do, understanding the laws or principles. And so the first law is everything is mental, all is mind. And so I think, therefore I am, essentially. So what you want to be aware is okay, well, if my mind has all of these intrusive thoughts all day, that's also creating your reality to an extent, a big extent. And so you were like, okay, well, if that first law, if I align with that law, or if I believe in that law, then I want to make sure I start reprogramming my human thinking mind that isn't me. Mm-hmm. And so if my mind has a consistent thought of not being enough, worthy, or fear of the unknown future, I would say you should speak a mantra every day before your breath and meditation that I am worthy, I am enough, I am at peace with what is, I fully trust, I fully allow. And you would speak it from your God space, from the space of presence, because you're starting to remember who you are. And that's a very powerful space that can reprogram your body and reprogram your mind, and also communicate with your subconscious mind, which will communicate with your body as well, and make these vibrational shifts, these vibrational changes in your physical body, changing your vibration. And so these words are very, very powerful. They're just another technique to create more oneness, to create more alignment within yourself. That's why all the things are great. Grounding, sunbathing, all these are deep ways to connect with source, and then also raise your vibration, to remove low vibration or transmute, I would say is a better term.
Yeah, it's amazing. The tools that we've spoken about are great. The tools that we haven't spoken about, there's so many. Grounding is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's everything. Grounding's a really big one. Grounding and breathing is huge.
Yeah, and we want to get into plant medicine, but I get the sense that we should speak about that in its own episode. There's so much to unpack there.
I was also
if you're willing to come back for that one.
Yeah, we can come back on and do another one. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to do the plant medicine one.
Part 2.
Yes.
But maybe, before we just head into some of the final questions, maybe just a few moments on grounding would be good, because it is such an incredible daily practice that's truly been life-changing for everybody that I've met that does it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's true.
Well, most people don't even, imagine people living in cities. Some of them maybe go years without touching the grass.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like if you live in a high rise or something in New York City and you come downstairs, you're not touching that pavement with your feet ever.
No.
It's it's all full of stuff. So you probably go to work. You probably don't have any grass upstairs in your high rise, unless you're physically
not that kind of grass
park.
Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. You may never really touch grass very much.
That's
and
true.
Most people are in offices and stuff like that and looking at screens. So a lot of people are just simply disconnected, and they probably don't know how they feel, to be honest. But grounding is a wonderful way, and it's actually My favorite way to wake up is touching grass. I do even have a grounding mattress as well and grounding sheets, so that I do recommend. It'll regulate you. It'll harmonize you energetically. Again, everything is vibration and frequency. And so what you consume and what you connect with physically and mentally all play a role in how you feel vibrationally. Not even how you feel, how you are vibrationally. And so grounding will discharge a lot of the low vibration out of your body, and the earth will transmute that for you and take it in and alchemize it, and which allows you to feel much better. And so if you say work all day and you're around screens and you come home and you're filled with that intense energy and you would like to discharge it, you can go outside, kick off your shoes, put your feet on the grass, and then intentions are important. Set the intention of, I would like to discharge this energy for my work today. Let this go back into the earth. I release you. And then you can do some heavy breathing and it'll come out your feet.
Incredible. Yeah, it's so true. I read a thing.
It really does. Yeah.
It really does work. I read something about a mom had written that her kid was acting out and it was like she didn't know what to do anymore. And she took her kid outside, told them to take their shoes off, kids on grass for like seconds, and immediately.
It just shows you the child doesn't know how to communicate, right? It doesn't know how to communicate, so it's falling into frustration. And what it really wants is presence. And so again, the mind is becoming frustrated. It's not able to communicate what it wants. And what it will always want is connection, aka presence. And so as soon as you give your presence to the child and you take them outside and they can become present with the earth, the mind dissolved, the vibration dissolved, and they saw immediate change, immediate alchemy, right? That was immediate alchemy.
Yeah.
And so you can realize, like, it's not about not experiencing low vibration, by the way. You will experience fear and all these types of things, these emotions. And what you get good about doing is just not creating a narrative around these emotions with your mind. And if your mind does, not grabbing the narrative, but then also holding it in real time, feeling it in your body without judgment or evaluation, and then alchemizing it with your breath, alchemizing it through movement or grounding. And then the energy of fear just moves through you, just like laughter would. We naturally let love move through us, or joy move through us through laughter and what have you. And we don't, cling on to that either. And if you do, it also doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
The clinging repels it.
Yeah. It's amazing. I love how practical it is. And I love that I can speak about it having felt it and having acclimated it into my life, where I do feel a lot of my Christian teaching was stuff that was just theological and wasn't really that practical. And so I've really enjoyed that change between it. And I'm excited for those of you listening to experience this too. I will just say to you that to experience it, you need to be consistent. It is extremely important, and you should feel the joy of it and feel the release of it and the energy of it. And that should excite you to carry on with it. But if you are coming out of a church setting or religious setting, which likely if you listen to this podcast, I think one of the questions, Justin, is just the fear around doing something wrong or opening an evil or being scared about it versus the excitement to explore without that. What would you say to people that are sort of still thinking about that paradigm? Like, is the devil going to get me through this? Or am I going to open to dark spirits? Or is this safe,
I think the biggest thing is understanding that fear in its entirety is an illusion. And so that's the most important thing. Fear in its entirety, it's the ego aspect of it, not your primordial fear, is an illusion. And there's a difference. Yeah. The ego mind. Yeah. And so I've learned just never to lead with fear. And so, and I've seen it as just that, as an illusion, that thought. And so back to what we were kind of talking about real quickly, if you are identifying with the mind, which has these fears or conditioning programs from your upbringing. So if you grew up in the church and they've programmed you to be afraid if you do breath work, realize that's a program. It's not you. It's a program within your brain. And so that's how you could see it. Like, okay, here's this program that I'm going to, encounter a demon. It might feel uncomfortable and my brain might create an image that looks like a demon.
Ooh, yes.
Because it's trying to make sense of the intense, horrible energy that we've been keeping in our bodies.
So good.
It'll make all types of faces and images when it's releasing and coming out. It'll say all types of things through the mind. And so again, like having the awareness that all of that is an illusion. Yeah, it's all an illusion. It's just something your mind is interpreting to make sense of the energy coming out of your body.
That's incredible.
Wow. That
so
is
helpful.
incredible.
Yeah.
So helpful.
Cool. Wow. Today's been incredible. Like I've also learned so much again, and it's just like reiterated like everything I've been working through. And so,
Wonderful.
So grateful to have you, Justin. If people want to reach out to you, meet you, get coached by you, find your resources for breathwork, how can they do that?
They can totally find me on social media. It's probably the best place, Justin D. Lovato, but also nirvanamindbodysoul.com. Become a member of Nirvana Nation. It's really cool.
Yes.
You get access to the community, you get access to all the breathwork meditation programs, the training programs, other programs, nutrition programs.
That is amazing, by the way. Just like, that's why Rachelle and I hear Justin's voice in our head every morning and every night, because we're doing breath work from Nirvana Nation. Cannot recommend that enough.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a fun community, all like-minded people doing this wonderful work. No dogma. It's quite nice. They can find me there on the website through IG. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Beautiful. We'll put all those links in the description for you. And, it's awesome. Like there's so much we can talk about. I think today's been so rich. And we just really appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, Rachelle.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
If you found it valuable, please share it with someone who might need it too.
Remember, if you have left church or feeling you need someone to process some of these thoughts with, you can book a 15-minute discovery call on our website. You can also discover more of our mentorship programs and how I can help you through the void, bridging from what was to what is.
Visit unchurchingpodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at Unchurching Podcast. Till next time.
Cheers. Ciao. Goodbye.